Have you ever felt like you are too pretty or too handsome for therapy? Okay, I haven't. Have you ever felt like you are being treated like you're too pretty or too handsome, just too good looking for therapy? Now that has happened. Now that I have dealt with. I know I'm not the only one, according to other conversations that I have had. I just wanted us to discuss that. So my name is Mbali Soke, and I am a lover of all things mental health related. Please check us out on Instagram and TikTok. Mrs. Mental Health on TikTok, Special Wellness Initiative on Instagram, Vision Board Workshops on Facebook. Please just have a look at all of those pages. But yes, Mbali Soke, and excited to be here and do this again. But this is something that has been on my mind. Um, I went through this in a more heavier way in 2023. It's 25 now, ne? Yes, 2023. It is not coming from a place of me viewing myself as that way, even though I don't think I'm too bad looking, you know. But I remember wanting to get admitted at a hospital because I felt that my unaliving ideation was getting a little out of control. And I really felt I needed help, right? So I asked for help. And my husband and I went to, I think it was like four different hospitals. I got a letter from my GP to say that I really do need to be admitted. And finally got admitted at the one place after my husband convinced them that we really need help. But the whole time with all of these different hospitals, the conversation was, you are pretty. Why are you depressed? You are pretty. Why would you want to get admitted? You have your life together. You've got a husband. You are dressed well. You look good. You are fine. Why would you want to get help? Why would you be struggling? Why are you not? And it really hurts me to see that I need to work so much harder just to get help when I can feel that I am really not okay. And then I start to look at like people like the celebrities and that get pushed over the edge and they get to the point where they end up doing that to themselves. And people always come back and be like, the conversation and why didn't they just say and why didn't. But guys, sometimes people talk and sometimes people do say something, but there are places that are just not welcoming to mental illness being bad if you don't look like your mental illness or like your mental health is not okay if you don't look like you should be struggling with mental illness. And it doesn't have a face. If we can just get to that point where we understand that mental illness, the bad condition of your mental health, it does not have a face. Just because somebody puts makeup on doesn't mean they cannot struggle. Just because somebody dresses well doesn't mean they cannot struggle. It just doesn't. Just doesn't. It just means you know how to wear lipstick. That's it. It doesn't mean anything else. I just wanted to speak about that so that we can start thinking about things like that. Another time, I was in a conversation with this man who was asking me where he could go for help. And the thing is, just redirecting. Most of these issues they come from the public system. I don't know how we're going to fix that situation because when I got the letter from my GP, it was a private doctor that I went to, and I told her, I'm like, I'm not. And she just asked me a few questions and she was like, okay. Then while she was typing out the letter, she started conversing with me around what's going on with me and my mental health at that time. And I realized, okay, she really is taking this seriously. She's not looking at, you just paid X amount to come see me, which means that you should be making proper money, and that means that you should be fine. No, she wasn't overthinking it. She just believed what I said, wanted to understand it, and wanted to figure out how to help. So she wrote a letter to say to refer me to a hospital and then also gave me antidepressants that lasted for a month. And she was like, because it was December time, and she's like, it might be full at hospitals, or you might have some issues generally just getting admitted in a public facility. But at least you will have these to help you cope until you do get that more stable, permanent help. Great thing. That's just what needed to happen. Then I go from there and you go to all these places and they're all just like, yo, Chomi, and you're just like that, but you came with your man. What do you mean you want him to leave you here? What do you mean you're not okay? What do you mean? Hey, anyway, nah, do you not have a job? Is that why you're not fine? And I was so confused. And it's all these public. I don't think every single person in the public sector, when it comes to mental health spaces, I don't think they're all like that. But there's so many that it is scary and stressful. And eventually I did get admitted to the one place, and then my husband discharged me like a day or two later because of the really horrible conditions of the place and the horrible treatment and the horrible. It's just so weird. I don't understand what they don't understand. I don't understand because these are normal human beings that when they get to their own homes and their own environments, they can see what depression or anxiety or bipolar looks like or schizophrenia. They can see what it looks like for an ordinary person when they're in their personal lives. But when they go to their professional spaces, they switch off. Like, I don't know what happens. I don't know what happens. I actually wonder what happens. Yeah, but anyway, going back to that other conversation that I was saying, I was speaking to this man and he was asking where he could get help. His struggle was that he was going to public facilities asking for help with therapy, and he was being rejected based on the fact that he's white. And he's like, I'm struggling to get help because I can't afford to go via the private sector, but I'm being told that what do I mean? I'm struggling with this when I am white. And it was so bad to the point where his specific mental illness had led him to getting divorced. And he was like, I have to, because I know what I'm putting this lady through. It is too much. But I've been getting misdiagnosed. And what I'm really seeing is that it's bipolar. I haven't found the right medication to help me manage it. That's according to when he's self-diagnosing, right? What he's realizing on his end. He's like, I haven't found the right medication, but I got to that self-diagnosis because of my general research of the seeing what I've been doing. And he's really been struggling, but every time he goes, he gets misdiagnosis, he gets pushed back and not being assisted or taken seriously because you're a white man, you should be fine. In fact, what are you doing here in the first place? And let's not act like those things are not happening. There are places where being black dominates that area, and any other race that comes into that space, for the most part, the majority of people that are there are going to be like, why is this Indian person here? Why is this black person here? Why is this white person here? Like, you know. And when it comes to getting public health care, it's very sad that that's what people need to go through, because unfortunately mental illness, struggles with your mental health, does not choose. It doesn't care about your bank balance, it doesn't care about your race, it doesn't care about your age, it doesn't care about where you're from, it doesn't care about where you currently are in life. It doesn't care. When it happens, it happens. And when you need help, you just need help. For me, I found it to be a very big thing for me to look for ways, which is what I started to do by having the nonprofits company that we have, Swahili Wellness Initiative, which is trying to focus on finding ways to educate people about mental health, mental illness, and also to give them resources onto where to go, who to speak to, because mental illness does not choose, it does not care, it just shows up. And people need to know where to go to get that help. People need to know where to go. We all get heartbroken at the end of the day when we find that somebody unalived themselves because they were struggling with their mental health. All of a sudden, when that happens, there's a lot of, they could have spoken to me, they could have journaled about it, they could have gone to that person, they could have done this, they could have done that. But if more of us knew what to do with somebody that is struggling, and then more of us knew where to take that person, how great would that be? So we're trying our best that we can with Special Wellness Initiative to figure out what resources we can offer people and where people can go, what we can tell them about getting help when it comes to their mental health and mental illness. Because finding that it is difficult to get help just because of who you are, where you're from, what you're going through is heartbreaking. I've seen it again when I went to a clinic and had a therapist, one place, had the one therapist that was just like, oh my goodness, and you're married, but you're like going through all of this. Oh no, your issue is that you don't listen to your husband. And the issue is that you are just being all of this. You don't listen to your husband. That's why you know? And then, but I knew that I was judged from the moments that I stepped in there. Then I went to another clinic and spoke to the ladies there and said, you know what, I've been on antidepressants before and I'd like to go back on them. What would be the procedure over here? And they were just like, why would you do that? Why, what's it for? What? And I'm like, what do you mean, what's it for? What do you mean? And they're like, no, people keep playing around with these pills. And I knew that I was being judged as soon as I stepped in. And I was like, okay, I just need to know what your guys' process is. Are you guys able to help me? Or do you need me to come with a referral letter from your GP? Do you need me to come with a referral letter from the hospital? Like, what's the process over here? That's it. But it takes a lot for a person to get to the point of being like, I know what I want. I know what I need. I know I'm going to force my way to get it. When you are struggling with your mental health and things are really bad, to force your way to make sure that you get the help that you need is very difficult. I always tell people that look for help when you are fine. Look for help when you are coping. When you're good, that's the time for you to buy a journal and a pen that works. That's the time for you to look for a therapist. That's the time for you to download the apps that offer words of affirmation or whatever. That's the time for you to go check in with your GP if you actually need antidepressants, or if you need antipsychotics, whatever it is, whatever it is that you need. That's the time for you to start looking for these things when you are feeling better. Because when you are not okay, you will not have the capacity to deal with the backlash that can come from asking for help. You will not have the capacity. It will be too much. I understand people saying, I tried one place, or hearing, I've heard stories of people that unalived themselves. And when you hear the backstory of the person, they went here and they asked for help, didn't get it, went here and asked for help, were rejected, and then resorted to this part. I understand. I understand. I understand. It's not the simplest of solutions, but it does happen to get to a very, very bad place that becomes the final decision that you make. Which means when things are good, now is the time for you to ask for help. Now is the time for you to fight for your help, to fight for your life, to fight for your mind, to fight for your health and your mental health, that is. Now's the time for you to do that, to declutter your social media to a point where you are able to see proper conversations and constructive conversations. Now's the time for you to evaluate your life, evaluate the books that you read, evaluate the things that you generally watch on TV, evaluate the people that you hang around with. It's the time to do that when you are coping. Because when things get bad, it's not your fault. You are not alone, but that chemical imbalance in your mind will let things go too far. All right, that's it. That's all that I wanted to speak about. I don't believe that I am the only person that has ever dealt with asking for help and not receiving help just because of who you are, where you come from, and what you come with. I don't believe that I am the only person that has gone through that. So I figured, you know what, let me speak about it. And maybe I might free somebody. Maybe somebody might feel, yeah, actually, I've also been there as well. Don't forget to check out Special Wellness Initiative on social media platforms. What else? What else? Subscribe, like this video. Somebody needs to hear this. Please subscribe. Let's get to like 1,000. I've been doing this since I've been doing this for like 5 years now. I understand it could be, it's, not it could be, it is my consistency that's making things take forever. But I'm going to work on being more consistent. Please do subscribe, support the channel in whatever way that you can, which is subscribing and liking. And I will see you in the next one.